Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome New Year's Eve 2026. Tonight we're going to be talking about arguably one of the best, one of the biggest, one of the most action-filled visual feats you will ever witness. We're talking about James Cameron's Avatar, Fire and Ash. It's going to be one hell of a thing, folks. So get ready, buckle in, clench your cheeks, and let's fucking go. Yeah. Hey, what's going on, everyone? How you guys doing? Welcome, Hollywood After Dark, late night, last minute, patio commentary. Last video of the year, all things considered. It's 10:47 p.m. on the West Coast. Wherever you are, hope you're having yourselves a good, fun night. I decided, of all nights, to finally be able to sit down and have ourselves a nice fireside chat to discuss James Cameron's latest genre-defining, box office smashing juggernaut of a film franchise, Avatar, Fire and Ash. However, I just want to say that if this movie ever does, and it probably will, get a porn parody, the movie will be called Avatar, Fire and Ass. And after you've seen this movie, and you've seen Varang, well, Varang, my boomerang, you're dang-a-bang. Just saying. Wow, that's a dad joke. Holy crap. It is, like I said, it is, of course, the night for having this conversation. RWP here says, Fire and Ash is my favorite movie this year. There's a lot of competition. And Fire and Ash is definitely one that I think is up there for a lot of people who took the time to engage it for what it was trying to say. Joining me from this conversation is also going to be my friend, your friend, our number one supporter, the pantheon of Hollywood After Dark family, the leader of the pyramid, if you will. H Barts, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
The lovely, rousing entrance, sir.
Yeah.
No, that's good. I'm good. I was actually, believe it or not, watching, I'll be fair, there's a lot of Fire and Ash floating around on the internet right now. You know, there's a couple
the high seas.
There's and like I was just kind of qualifying a couple things. I was kind of thumbing through a little bit of it. Found myself just kind of getting engrossed in seeing it because I just want to say, above all else, I feel like these movies in general require multiple viewings.
They do.
I really think that they need that because, like, I remember when I first saw Way of Water, I was like, okay, like I liked it, sure, it was good, and then I was just like, yeah, but it wasn't as good as the first one in my mind. But that was when I first saw it, right? And then I watched it again, and I'm all like, oh, okay, I missed so much.
And that 4K looks really good at home.
And then the 4K looks amazing at home, yes. And thank you to H Bars for buying that for me and my family. For both of them. He got me both of them. And my daughter very much enjoyed it. It was really funny because after I showed my daughter Way of Water, I showed her the 4K of the 1990 Turtles movie. And she was like, oh, God, this is ugly, Dad. Why are we watching this? Go back, put on Avatar. So, yeah, kids these days, they love the big blue fish people. Or cat people, whatever you want to say. So, but the thing with Avatar is just kind of, I kind of made a bit of a splash on TikTok the other day when I was talking about how media literacy is dead in regards to this franchise because people really just don't, I don't know why. It seems like people just don't want to engage with it past the visuals, past the spectacle. They want to sit there and just go, like it's a simple story. There's really nothing to carry about. You don't need to care about the characters or the settings or anything else. It's just, what can be, blasted into your damn eyeballs.
Yeah, I had a conversation with Elmo and his wife, and they both ended up enjoying it a lot. And they felt the same way I did with the movie, where they felt like it was just an extended version of Way of Water. but not in a bad way, in a good way.
But I mean, it is. I think to an extent, you know, a lot of people out there, they don't know that, I think, about this movie. And because I will say, I will fully acknowledge that the marketing did not do it justice on that front.
No.
The marketing was like, okay, you know, there's the ash people or the fire people, whatever. You know that there's going to be conflict. Okay, Quaritch is going to go team up with them. We know that's going to happen. You know, all of those things are going to go down. And then after that, it's going to end up being this, you know, whatever, right? But then it's really like just watching even the opening of the movie again. By the way, the spoilers, if anyone here didn't know that, is that it starts right at the end of the last movie, but it just switches character perspectives. You know, whereas like Jake was with Neteum, and you know, and Neytiri was there watching Neteum as a child and enjoying those moments with him through the memory. You know, we go right over to Loak, and Loak is now, you know, bearing the guilt, the brunt of the guilt. Even though Neteum's like, well, we had to go back for Spider. We had to. You know, like, come on, it's Spider. You had to go back for him. Sort of thing. And it's just like, okay, you know, like they're establishing that emotional weight right there. You know, so I feel like it's like that. Although the idea there, and also because, you know, Parallax here says, so I guess there's no cultural impact is true. I don't believe that's necessarily fair to say. There's a lot of cultural impact, but not in the way people are expecting. I will admit that the lack of merchandise is something that I find to be quite fascinating. I do think if there was more Avatar merchandise, if you could buy the Jake Sully toy, if you could buy the Neytiri action figure, you have Quaritch and Jake Sully battle it out in the Dominion of your choosing, I think kids would buy that. I do. I think kids would absolutely buy that. They'd get Avatar lunchboxes. And so it's so weird to me that the success of these movies has not in some ways been predicated on their merchandise sellout. And I don't know if you agree with me on this or not, H. Arts, but I almost look at that as being something worth kind of championing the movie for. It hasn't needed to rely on merchandise, on third-party shit.
Which shows it stands on its own.
It stands on its own. Yeah, it's still the number 1 and number 3 highest grossing films of all time for the first two. Now, look, I don't know how this one's going to hold out. You know, we're 2 weeks in, and the movie is supposed to crack $1 billion, I think, this weekend. You know, or maybe like 1.25 billion this weekend. It is having legs. It is very much slowing down. You know, but I was again looking at the price of tickets sold, and I think at the end of Avatar Fire Nash's box office run, I think we will notice that there were fewer tickets that were sold overall. You know, we saw this with Superman 2025 as well, where the movie came out, did well domestically,
didn't beat Man
but
of Steel.
Internationally, it still didn't beat Man of Steel worldwide, box office gross wise, tickets sold, but domestically it did usurp it. But Avatar is one that is in many ways an international franchise, probably more than a domestic franchise. So while I don't know if 2 billion is going to happen, and I've been saying that since before the movie came out, anything could happen at this point.
Did it open in China yet?
I don't know if it did or did not open in China. You know, but China's going to be big. Let's see. Did it open in China? Okay, Avatar opened China in mid-December 2025. So yeah, it did. It opened December 19th alongside the North America release. It did over 100 million in earnings within the first couple of days. It was the biggest launch for an Avatar movie in China and the second highest debut for a foreign film in 2025 following Zootopia 2. Let's see. Audience reception. While a visual feast for many, some Chinese viewers found a 3-hour plus runtime slow, leading to a lower 7.6 on the Douban compared to Avatar 2. And I can see that as being an issue, right? I do. When I was going back to what I was trying to say before about the length of these movies and people, the way that they're going about them, I would make the argument that this movie, you know, they always say, why watch it in the best format you can. You know, like go see it in the IMAX 3D, go see it however you can that's high quality. I would actually make the argument that the movie should not be seen like that. Not first.
So the
And
thing
the
I will
reason why
say, about that is that so I seen Way of Water and Fire and Ash in different settings. So
yeah.
and my parents went with me both times. They enjoyed Way of Water more at the theater, mostly because we saw that in a regular theater with recliners. And then when we saw Fire and Ash, we saw that in IMAX. And the IMAX seats are like really shitty, like old style theater
Yeah.
chairs.
And that's one of the reasons why when I took my dad to go see Way of Water and Fire and Ash, I took him to a Cinemark XD theater that's like 40 miles away from my house. Because the IMAX that we have close by, we went and saw the first Avatar when they re-released it in the 4K upscale back in September of 2022. And it was great, but I was like, man, those are those old seats that are just kind of annoying to sit in now. You know, like if I'm paying this kind of money, I want something that's more comfortable to sit in. If I'm going to sit for 3.5 hours roughly, you know, and watch a movie, I'm going to want to sit in something that has a recliner. Because, you know, recently I saw Kill Bill, The Whole Bloody Affair. And from start to finish, that was about 5.5 hours from start to finish. And you know what? I sat in the recliner and it was comfortable and it was nice. Had I gone and seen that in a normal old school, you know, seat theater, I think I would have gotten tired, a lot more tired. But the reason why I would recommend to go see Fire and Ash in a normal standard setting is actually for a couple of reasons. One, the 3D is very impressive. However, for 3 hours at the pace at which this movie runs, it is a lot for you to take in. You know what I'm saying? It is a lot for you to sit there and just experience. Because not only is it like 3D and it's high quality, large premium format, you've also now got the 48 frames per second. And I do not like that.
That didn't bother me because I play 60 frames per second games, so
that's not the same thing at all. It's not. My dad even asked me that question. He goes like, "It's kind of weird that then 48. Why don't they just put it in 60?" I'm like, "It's not. That's not. No, that's not how it works." It's the way that because this is shot all digital, obviously, so there's no film stock. Cranking it to 48, frames per second is something that I felt Peter Jackson fucked up on back in 2012 when he tried that with the first Hobbit movie. Nobody liked it. But with Way of Water, and not even Way of Water, Gemini Man also had the high frame rate. And people complained about that with Gemini Man. The Ang Lee movie kind of went and crashed and burned. But with Avatar, they just kind of like accepted it, which was weird. And when I walked out of watching the Fire and Ash, and I was like trying to process everything that I saw, I was tired. I was physically exhausted because I was like, damn, that was fucking long. But it wasn't, the length of these things never bother me. You know, I can sit down and watch like a marathon of like 6 hours of fucking whatever. You know, I did that with Stranger Things the other day. And that doesn't bother me at all. But when I'm trying to watch a movie like this and I wear glasses, so that's a problem. And then I got the 3D glasses on top of that. So now you have the extra weight.
Yeah, that's.
And I'm really glad that I had my regular pair of glasses rather than my Ray-Ban Metas, because the Ray-Ban Metas are about £1 or maybe a little less than £1. And after a while, you feel that on your face. On top of that, adding in these real 3D glasses, which have gotten, lighter, right? And more, what's the word I want to use here? They've gotten lighter. Friendly. Yeah. And they've gotten a little bit better, but here's another thing too. Did you take your glasses off at all during the 3D? Did you see that it barely looked like 3D? Like you could actually watch Avatar, Fire and Ash without your glasses on into 3D?
I took mine off for like a second and the whole screen was completely blurry. So that was just for ours though.
Maybe it was like when I took mine off for a second, everything looked fine.
Because mine is a true IMAX. So
yeah, if you're watching it, like, was it 70? It probably wasn't 70 millimeter, but
our IMAX is the big film reel one. So I don't know if they do Avatar in the big film reel though.
Yeah, that's the big film reel. That's a 70 millimeter. So it's possible that you would have been different from me on that one. But again, at the end of the movie, I was just like, whew, that was a lot, and liked it, but again, like this be like any other film that has a lot going on. You're not going to catch everything your first time. You're not going to pick up on every little nuance, every little detail the first time. And I wonder if people have always just done that with this franchise, right? They've always kind of approached it as being disposable slop. Like, oh, it looks pretty, but it's a one and done sort of thing. There's no point to go back to it, which I think is entirely ridiculous because there's so much you have to know about the Way of Water to truly understand Fire and Ash. And if you haven't seen Way of Water in 3 years, and like let's say, for example, one of the key things that took me a while to pick up on, and I don't know if you had the same issue because of the way you experienced both Avatar films, was kind of back to back for the first time. When, going between The Way of Water and this movie, I had a lot of trouble remembering character names.
Really?
Initially. Well, see, that's what I mean. That's what I'm saying.
Well,
a little different, right? Because I saw it when I first saw
the side characters, like the what are they called? The water people. Some of them I had trouble, but not like any of
you really only ever get like 2 of their names, right? You get Ronald and then you get the daughter Sasame or whatever the hell her name is, right? Like, other than that, you might get the chief name, the 2 sons, the chief's 2 sons. You like never get their names, like at all.
One who never got a funeral.
Yeah. Well, we never saw him get a funeral, but he popped up in the afterlife. He seemed happy to be there. He was like, "This might be the last time I'm ever on screen in any movie ever, but I'm gonna play it up." It's just, that was the thing, is like some of those character names. Like, the general, right? Edie Falco's name. I don't remember her character name.
Is she dead?
I believe she's dead. I believe, because there's that shot of her on the bridge as it's exploding. So it's kind of implied that she dies.
And but I don't know if you've seen her or not, but some people think Quaritch is dead. Like, I don't, he's not
Quaritch
dead.
Ain't fucking dead. He ain't dead. Come on.
He needs that redemption arc.
Because here's the thing, we didn't actually watch him die. We just watched him jump off the platform, right? And then, so here's the thing, if they would have not cut back to him falling, and they just would have had him be like, "Well, ain't that a bitch?" And then he just jumps off at the end, which I think is a great line, by the way. Freaking Stephen Lang owns this fucking movie. Holy shit, does he own this fucking movie?
It's his film.
Yeah, it is. I love the dynamic between Sully and Quaritch was so great. Every time they're on screen together, I'm like, yeah, we're gonna get some buddy cop shit going on.
Well, so Curie's supposed to be the narrator of the next movie. Imagine the last film, Quaritch is the narrator. Like, that'd be pretty.
I think that's probably what's gonna. I don't think Jake Sully's gonna live. I think Jake Sully's gonna die.
Before the last film.
I think he's gonna die. Yeah.
And then Quaritch becomes our main character. Like,
well, no, I think Quaritch becomes our main character in the last film because they all go to fucking Earth. Because that we already know one of the John Landau, before he died, had told everybody that, like, we are going to Earth in like the 5th movie. So, and we know that there's a time jump, in between, like, the first act of Avatar 4 and what comes after that.
Yeah, it's 8 years, I think.
Because they already filmed it before the kids got to be told. Yeah. Well, it's 8 years one direction. So it's 8 years in cryo. But when you're in cryo, you don't age, so you're 8 years in cryo, or you age very little. And then after that, whatever. But we'll have to find out. But I do think that with Avatar 4, we are going to get a lot more with the with Earth. We're going to see what's going on, because I was looking into it a little bit, like just trying to figure out what was going on with like the shifting from unobtainium to Amarita. Okay, and if those of you who are here going like, "What's Amarita?" That's the shit that they killed the whales for. All right, the stuff that stopped aging in its tracks, that went for like 80 million a kilo, right, or whatever, or 80 million a jar, or whatever the fuck, right? But never mind, like, unobtainium was $20 million a kilo, and so it feels like all of that work in order to kill all of those Tolakan, in order to get that one little bit, is kind of crazy. You know what I'm saying? However, so here's how it kind of figures out, right? Because these movies aren't very subtle in their allegories. which is kind of funny. People are like, I don't connect with that. It's kind of hard not to connect with it. Like they literally lay everything out. But the unobtainium was all about coal, right? It was industrialization. It was coal mining. That was all about trying to find ways to bring more power to Earth because we had kind of fucked ourselves, right? That was kind of the whole point, is they were trying to bring energy. That's what unobtainium could do. Well, this one, 16 years later, and all the time that they're gone, doing all of that with, with the RDA leaving and then coming back and everything else, they, what is it? The Amarita is now funding the whole operation. So it's no longer about saving the planet. Like what they haven't said about Earth yet in Avatar, what we will find out in Avatar 4 is just how absolutely fucked it is. Because Earth is dead at this point. Like Earth is more or less dead. They're not trying to save Earth anymore. They're trying to find a new home. That's what they're doing.
The extended director's cut, the first movie, because there's a little bit of Earth on that.
There's a little bit more Earth on that. I think I've seen like the first opening of it, but it's like I don't have the. Do I have the DVD of it? I might have it somewhere. I might have found it.
I wonder if they're gonna keep that look because it kind of looks Blade Runner-y. Like because it might just you never know if Cameron's wanted to change the look of Earth since then.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's gonna be. I mean, it might be Blade Runner-y. It might just be fucking apocalyptic. You know what I mean? Like it might just be. I could see it having big cities and lots of dust clouds. Is what I think could be happening quite a bit.
So China.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Fuck it, right? And then pitch the beautiful utopia that China wants to create. I guess because that's where a lot of the money comes from. But but this is what's happening is they want the Amarita in order to be able to, save the lives of those who can afford it. And who do you think could afford age stopping, treatments? And that would be the rich and the powerful, probably the tech billionaire class, right? Not average people like you and me, not grunts like Quaritch or like Jake Sully.
So our main villain of the last film was someone like Elon Musk.
Well, yes, and they've already kind of established who that person is going to be in Avatar: Fire and Ash.
Yeah, it's Giovanni Ribisi's
See, there's
boss, right?
Giovanni Ribisi's dad. His dad.
Oh, it's actually his dad.
His dad. Because there's that line that the general says to him. For one, I thought it was surprising that Selfridge came back. Right? That Giovanni Ribisi came back. I was kind of like, oh shit, when did he get there? Like, all right. Like he came back to oversee the project, sure. But then there's that line where he's trying to basically control the general, and she's like, your daddy's not here to save you. And so who's the dad going to be?
Arnold
right? Who's gonna? I would hope so.
Oh, really?
No, I would actually. If we're gonna go and like pull out of the well of James Cameron, acolytes in regards to who could potentially be. I mean, obviously with the age of Giovanni Ribisi, someone up there like Arnold or Sylvester Stallone, right? I mean, I could see, man, fuck, dude, if only Charlton Heston was still alive. Could you imagine Charlton Heston coming back? Because he was in True Lies as the head of the organization that Schwarzenegger worked for.
Oh, really? I haven't seen True Lies.
Motherfucker, you're missing out. Leo, I was thinking it too, Droga. I was thinking about Leo potentially, but Leo would be like, unless Amarita stops aging in his tracks, and that's kind of the whole point, right? They bring out someone,
but
like,
what's his name? Played Kyle Reese.
Michael Biehn. Now, I don't know if Michael Biehn could do it. Like him and James Cameron are still buds. That Michael Bihn's got a podcast that James Cameron was on there just recently, and so like I could see Kyle Reese making a comeback, right?
I would say Bill.
What would have been great?
Still around.
I was just gonna say Bill Paxton. Yeah, it would be so great if Bill Paxton could come back. Drogo there says Billy Zane. I don't know, man. I don't know. Don't get me wrong. I would never smirk at like in a negative way at Billy Zane. But it's like we need to have some. Who I think could do it? I really think they could get like someone who could bring the intensity and chew the scenery really well. Fucking Anthony Hopkins. What if Anthony Hopkins could do it, or and I hate to say this is such a fucking like fan casting, but like Bryan Cranston. Imagine Bryan Cranston going in as like the elder Kit Ridge or Selfridge, and like just completely being a dick.
He finally gets to
But
be
that I think is going to be,
leader.
yeah, kind of, yeah. Finally gets to do that. Gets to do that role. James Cameron, I think, would hire someone that would be a good older act. What if it's Tom Cruise?
Oh,
What if it's Tom fucking Cruise?
I would say it could be Ed Harris, but I think Ed Harris said that he wouldn't work with Cameron ever again.
Maybe.
Because of
But
the
money
Abyss.
doesn't. Yeah, well, that was also like 30 years ago, right? Like, like Ed Harris is a big boy. Tony
Oh,
there
that's a
says
good-
Mel Gibson.
That's a good choice.
Mel Gibson could do it. Oh my God, Mel Gibson. Could you imagine the racial tirade of shit he says against the fucking Navi? Right?
They just
Like,
recreate a strong rant.
It would just, all it would do is just like, he would come out, he would popularize like what to call them in a negative. Let's see. Rational dropping the $5, buddy. Thank you. Says, I think they're going to plant an AWA tree on Earth to save Earth since Earth is being destroyed due to climate change. I do think that's ultimately what's going to happen. Is like AWA is going to come to Earth in order to save it. And then maybe like that's going to be what saves like everything. But at the same time, it's like how the biggest problem though is going to be like how AWA would save Earth. Like how, if AWA saves Earth, that's not going to change. Okay, AWA works in balance, right? The whole point of the network that is on Pandora is that everything is in balance with everything else. Like the Na'vi only kill what they need to eat. Very much like the Native Americans, indigenous cultures here in the United States. They only take what they need. They only take, but in the case of the Sky People come on in and they just murk whatever. I'm playing Avatar Frontiers of Pandora right now, and there's a whole side quest about the RDA going and like basically like a fucking poaching these really, really, really big elephant-like creatures. Why? Because they want their tusks to send back to Earth in order to make a lot of money. So they can have the collectibles that are in like people's homes and private museums and shit like that.
Man,
So it's like
all over again.
It's more or less, right? It's like, humanity isn't really going to like change itself. Like when you have all of that money in play, humanity isn't going to change itself. And so that's where I'm thinking like, what is it going to be? Now, I have a theory. I made a joke about this on Twitter the other day. I'll quickly talk about it here, but then we can move on. But I have a theory that because James Cameron has also said that he's talking about how he's having trouble writing the next Terminator movie. He can't figure out what to do with it because of where AI is right now. And I'm thinking like, bro, dude, just fucking have Cyberdyne end up closing up shop at the end of Judgment Day because it never happened. It's all of its resources get bought out in a merger by a company called the RDA. And they use Cyberdyne technologies to create the intergalactic planet, the interplanetary travel systems, right? And then ultimately, what's buried in the base of all the Cyberdyne notes, right, buried at the bottom in their Black Ops bag that nobody wants to talk about. Oh, it's fucking Skynet. So what if the overall AI that's on Earth is Skynet, and that's what's killing us also, right? Wouldn't that be a fucking thing to merge to bring Well, because there's a line in Fire and Ash, by the way. There's a line in Fire and Ash at the beginning of the movie when Jake is, going down to the wreckage of the ship from the last movie, and he's pulling up all the guns, right? And, he's like, look, all you got to do is clean them up, oil them up, they're good to go. And then you've got Ronal saying like, the Sky People's weapons are forbidden, like metal weapons are forbidden. It poisons the soul. Well, what the fuck is a T-800? What the fuck is a T-1000? Right? It is, organic matter over a fucking cybernetic endoskeleton. Metal. I'm just saying, you can realistically run the
Terminator right now.
Yes, yeah, he's got it back.
Okay, so then they can actually connect the franchises.
So I think they should. Fuck it. Imagine how many people would get so goddamn mad at that shit, and people who'd get so goddamn happy at that shit too.
The final battle between a bunch of Na'vi and T-800s.
Kind of, right? I mean, that's one thing Jake Sully said. It's all like, look, I can't fight these ships with spears. We got to have weapons that can take down the Sky People because they got ships. They got weapons. We got to be able to fight back, fight fire with fire. That's what Jake does. That's what he's always done, you know? And they're like, no, you need to become Taruk Makto again. And it's like, but what I find to be really funny about that whole situation as well is they tell him to become Taruk Makto. And Jake is like, no, I've chosen peace. Right? I've chosen peace because now he has lost. Now he has things he has to worry about, right? Because he didn't want to stop being Taruk Makto when the Sky People came back in Way of Water, but he felt that it was the best course of action to save the family. Not only that, but to protect his people, which is what Taruk Makto would do. So he steps down from being that role in order to kind of, go into hiding and protect his family. And then here they're like, bro, we need you to come back. Like, we need you to come back as Taruk Makto and lead the clans. Like, that's like that. It worked before. It can work again, sort of thing. And I thought that was fascinating because you can tell he's like, I don't want that life. I don't want, like, he's like, I've lost my son. I've, I don't want to, like, do this. Because it's like, unlike Quaritch, and this is where you have your yin and yang of the characters, right? Jake is actually making the choice in the movie because he keeps repeating it to Quaritch, right? Like, you're trying to beat it into a grunt's head. And it's just like the whole idea there of, no, you cannot, like, you can make a choice. You do not have to do this. Like, you are not connected to Quaritch. You are free. You don't have to listen to what the RDA says. You have a choice to make. You can choose another path. And I really, really like that because it's like, Quaritch was like trying to use him in the first movie and he fucking hates him for getting him killed at the end of that thing, even though it was Neytiri who fucking did it, and that's why, like, he keeps antagonizing Neytiri, which I think is also kind of funny, by the way. Because I think Quaritch respects the shit out of Jake Sully. I really think he does. I think he respects the shit out of him.
Respect.
Yeah, right. I really feel that because not only because of Spider, but I think that also he sees that there's another way, like that Jake Sully has embraced another way than being a Marine. And this is one of the things where I think that the overall concept of the Marine mentality in Avatar is seen as a condemnation of that particular belief. And I say that because I used to live in San Diego. San Diego's a military town. We have a lot of Marines there. And Marines, especially in basic training, are broken down to their base core being, and then they're rebuilt in the image of their drill instructor, which is meant to embody the entirety of what the Marine Corps stands for. Right. And it is indoctrination. It is fucking almost like indentured servitude in some situations. And so I've always looked at the idea here of a Marine pushing back against the programming as a a way to kind of talk about what life is like after service, sort of thing. That you don't always have to be like that. But there is a line in this one as well. In the beginning, before Quaritch goes off and encounters Varang and everybody, where he was all like, "You brought me 26 trillion miles for a kill mission, and don't you think I'm gonna stop?" Like, I just thought that was a great line.
I loved every scene with Quaritch. I was talking with Elmo and his wife about it, and I didn't even say anything, but they both said to me, like, I wanted him to turn so badly. And I was like, yeah, so did I. Like, you can just tell that he's so close to, like, just turning. Like, he just needs the one thing that'll flip him. And I think that might be Spider at some point in the next film.
Well, Spider's the gateway. That in this whole movie was really about Spider is the gateway. And also, can we just quickly touch upon the fact that every time a human gets some Na'vi lovin', they absolutely turn. Have you noticed that in Avatar 1? Right? Fucking Jake and Neytiri hook up. All right. And then all of a sudden Jake's all in, man. He's all in. Yeah, I don't want to be human no more. I want to be this big blue cat dick. Okay. Avatar 2, you got Spider and Kiri. There was that Way of Water. You could tell there was a relationship there. Avatar 3, Kiri fucking kisses Spider. Okay. So at that point we know that back and forth flirting was definitely something that was like an attraction. And then Quaritch fucks Varang. And then he's like, hold on, let me go full fucking genocidal. Like it's just like there's something about that kind of pussy.
I've seen so many people on Twitter talking about Varang.
Yeah, no, she's definitely done it. She's definitely brought a lot of people into the fold on that one.
I thought she was a really good villain. I do hope there's a lot more of her in the next film.
I think there will be. I don't, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, right? And because we don't see her die at the end of this movie at all. We don't see, there's a great line at the end there with Curie, which I was watching. I don't know if you caught it. Have you ever seen Aliens?
I haven't, but I know that the line "Get away, you bitch" is from
Yeah,
Alien.
yeah. Get away from her, you bitch. And then like I'm watching it, and she comes up and she goes, "Get your hands off my mother." And I was all like, and then there was like a solid like 30-second pause after that line, and I thought to myself like, man, they had such an opportunity to just fucking do it, to just make the alien line, right? And then it cuts back with "you bitch," and I was all like, yeah, they did, yeah, they did. I thought it was great. I thought that was awesome because Curie kind of came into her own. It's still a little confusing about what is going on. I don't think necessarily I think Curie is what's going to go to Earth and what's going to be the Awa of Earth because she can channel Awa's powers, right? So Curie
He's
traveling
Jesus.
26. She is Pandoran Jesus. That is very true.
So does
Yeah.
that mean we're gonna get Passion of the Curie eventually?
I maybe Mel Gibson is he's gonna fucking come to that, dude. He's just gonna be like, yeah, let's fucking hammer that up there. Um uh no, it's I think yeah, we're gonna get something about that where I think there's gonna probably be some allegories along the way about that. But I felt like Curie's particular path in the movie was really good. I enjoyed that how how it showcased that the only way that she can reach Awa is with the help of her family, right? And her friends. Like it's not a singular journey. Like she tries to go and connect to Awa in Way of Water, she has a seizure. She tries to connect to Awa again in this movie, she has another seizure. They're like, if she does it again, she's gonna die. Obviously, rule of threes. Come on, it's not the most complex storytelling. And then she does it, but then Spider joins her, and then Took joins her, and through that, they're able to get together. They're able to get through and get to Awa, at least whatever the fuck that was, right? Whatever that big goddess is that we get a glimpse at, and that's really about it. But then, of course, after that is when all the fucking sea creatures come back up. And I will admit, okay, I have been like probably overglazing this movie to some people. I will admit though, when the sea creatures came up at the end of the movie, like the creatures did in at the end of Avatar at the request of Awa to help fight back against the sky people, I did think that was a bit of a derivative beat. But at the same time, if Awa did it once, why the fuck wouldn't she do it again?
Yeah.
You know?
Also, like with Awa, like is Awa physical or like just spiritual? Like, because we saw the giant like eye.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's more spiritual, but I think that's the manifestation of it. I think Awa could be the soul of the planet, right? Maybe and maybe I'm misremembering 2001: A Space Odyssey, but like the solar baby, right? Is that what it is? The space baby. You remember
Yeah,
that thing?
yeah, yeah. It's
Right?
supposed to be like
Like
that.
I maybe I could
I
just be
think
like
I think James Cameron did say it is supposed to be like that.
I honestly, if that's what it is that something I just picked up on and I haven't read anything on it. But I really did enjoy, like again, I enjoyed her journey. I enjoyed everything at the end. But who got me? I will say who did, I think, an excellent performance that will never be fucking in any way, awarded to by the media, is Zoe Saldana as Natiri. Like she's given it all in these three movies. I mean, we're talking excellent performances. Vocal, physical, everything. She's given these amazing performances.
The only thing I wish that she would have done in this film is finally give us the song from Penis to Vagina.
That would have been good. Yeah, Every Day of the Eclipse, from penis to vagina, because that is how Nateum was born.
I can't believe she won an Oscar for that, but
I
say it's for
I
Avatar.
I'm saying it's for Avatar because fucking Amelia Perez. God damn it. She was good in that movie. I'll give her credit for being good in Amelia Perez. And even Amelia Perez, the actress, she was good in Amelia Perez. But Amelia Perez was not a very good movie. It wasn't the worst I ever saw, but it was like, and I could talk a lot about the fact that the director was like, he's a old French guy who has no interest in understanding Latino fucking heritage at all, and just went in there, was like, I'm going to make this movie, and it's going to be excellent, and it won a lot of awards, and it was like, okay, whatever.
Oh yeah.
But
Speaking of old French guys, I watched Leon yesterday, and there's some odd stuff in that movie.
it is not the way you think. But I know what you're talking about. We can talk about Leon later, though, because Leon's a fucking masterpiece. You have got to admit, Leon is a masterpiece.
Yeah, it was really good. I watched the extended with more of that stuff in there.
Oh, okay, yeah. There's some stuff that because this was like 93. So you're going to be like, okay, whatever with that. But no, Leon is a fuck, dude. Come on, Gary Oldman, man. Holy shit. Right?
Yeah, really in the film.
I mean, like, oh, God, he was awesome. Like, who do we call? Everybody. Fuck, that meme is great. But, okay, but here's the real quick, because now you got me thinking about it. In defense of Leon, in defense of the relationship between Matilda and Leon, John Reno himself has says that he played Leon like a simpleton. So there would be no nothing, right? He's caring for this child. That's literally it. Now, her, on the other hand, she's manipulative. That's part of Matilda's character in that one. She's manipulating Leon, and she knows that she is. And then that's another angle you got to look at that as well. So, because that's why at the end of the movie, when she goes to Danny Aiello and she's like, I could be a cleaner. And he's like, get the fuck out of here. Go to school. You know what I mean? Like, there's some shit there. Anyway, I don't want to deviate. I love Leon. I will defend that movie fucking till the end of goddamn time.
Luc Besson wanted it to be more sexual, though. I know that.
I think I won't
Jean
defend.
Reno turned him down on that.
And I'm glad Jean Reno is goddamn saint. Yeah. Because if it would have had that kind of angle to it, one of my favorite movies would then be tainted, and I'm glad he decided to do it his way. Anyway, yeah, well, the French are fucking weird. We can understand.
Don't let a French direct Avatar.
I don't know. I don't even think anyone else could direct Avatar films. I don't think anyone could ever do it the right way. But I want to kind of go back to the Neytiri thing. Her performance was awesome. Like, so good. Like, the whole thing with her and Spider, that arc, because like she didn't like him in A Way of Water, and she fucking hates him here. And then there's the scene after they get Jake out of there. By the way, dude, can we quickly talk about how like when Neytiri like dresses up as one of the Ash people and infiltrates the compound, and then fucking starts just like taking everybody out in order to like get to Jake? How badass that scene was.
Yeah, I really like that. It reminded me of a fucking video game where you just go into like a base and just raid everything.
It basically was, but what made me laugh the most of that scene was like, while she's there doing that, who is saving her husband? Fucking the guy she hates, right? The kid she hates, the kid she wanted to kill.
The kid who turned down a burger.
Yeah, he fucking turned down a burger. Okay, what a bitch move. Spider. He probably never had one, to be honest. But no, it's like, but she goes in there to fucking kill everybody, which is always great when Neytiri goes full ham. And then she goes in there to do that. And then Spider is like, I'm going to go rescue my dad. Right? Like he's like, I don't care. I'm going to go he stands in front of the gunship. Like, you fuckers need me, so eat shit. And then as they're running away, he's just giving them the finger.
Now, in that scene, I actually thought, what do you call it? That was going to be where Quaritch turned, because the general, she told them to like fire on Spider at one point. So I thought Quaritch was going to finally like snap and be like, I'm done with the RDA.
He was kind of fucked at that point. He was balls deep in that Varang pussy. That's what he was in. He was so fucking because you could tell he was grappling with it, but like at that point, dude, come on, he's got the full fucking regalia on. He's like in their war paint. Like he's not really thinking about Spider because he's full on trying to get with, Charlie Chaplin's granddaughter. Did you know that?
Yeah, I know that.
Una Chaplin, who plays Varang, who's, oh my God, she's so good. That's Charlie Chaplin's granddaughter. Also, what was it? The wife. Who? As who?
As the Queen of France, the 70s films.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I mean, I just watched those films last year, so but anyway, no, I just think she was really good, and I really enjoyed that whole scene. But what got me was what came after that. Okay, well, first off, actually, hold on. I want to talk about Jermaine Clement. Okay. The Preston Garvey, not Preston Garvey, that's from fucking Fallout 4. But the one guy, the scientist guy, that's like morally objecting to them killing all the whales, and then he goes and rescues Jake just for like, you got to go save the whales, man. Like,
Did anything even happen to him? Like, did
I
he
don't
get
think
like
so.
punished?
We don't know. We never saw what happened to him. Like, and to be fair, everything happened so fast after that. It's entirely possible that like he just like grabbed his gear and got the fuck out of Dodge. Like maybe he's gonna like try to find him. But I just thought that was really funny. He just shows up and goes like, "You got to go save the whales, man." It felt like a little bit of a Deus Ex Machina, like a little bit of a point to just get us from like point A to point B to point C. Like, okay, we need a reason to kind of lead into the third act. And we need a way to alert Jake and all those guys of what the RDA is up to. Because at that point, the RDA and people went off about this, and I'm kind of getting away from the point that I want to make or the scene I want to get to, but I saw some commentary online about people saying that this movie is just like a paint by numbers remake of the last movie, which it completely isn't. It so fucking isn't. But the reason why they're going after the whales in this movie is because they're trying to get all that money. That's like they said, hundreds of billions of dollars, right? Is sitting there just waiting to be taken. And the thing about that still kind of gets me is why are we still operating in the billions of dollars category? If you have the ability to travel 26 trillion miles from Earth to
trillions,
wouldn't it be trillions of dollars? Wouldn't our monetary value system now be more? And I think one of the reasons why that's the case is because you still need like a level, some kind of like, I guess word for money that people would relate to. You know what I mean? Like
realism kind of.
Yeah. It's like when you go 20, I think he said 20 million a kilo or whatever, for like the unobtainium. And then it's like 80 million for this jar, and you're like, but those seem like paltry numbers considering everything.
Yeah, I think it would have been weird if they probably said quadrillion or quintillion or sextillion, something like that.
Yeah, because if they would have said that amount of money, people would have been like, that's too much for me to comprehend. Like it's just at that point, it's like, it's so much. What the fuck's the point of it?
Because we haven't had
and I think like
Earth yet reach a trillion, so it's not like something that people think about.
Yeah. So it's like, it's one of those things where you're like, that seems kind of weird that the number value is so low, considering all they're getting out of it is like this little bit, and the investment into it is massively high. But then if you stop for a moment and you think about like, and you think about just the way that we conduct business here, how much shit do we destroy that we literally vaporize that might have some value just to get to the core idea of one thing that has maybe like has value, but not as, whatever. Right. I mean, like we do this with like fossil fuels and shit, like we do this with so much stuff. And I think that's kind of what it's getting to, but then again, that's like, these aren't very subtle in regards to how they do this. But okay. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of touch upon that shit because for me, the core aspect of the entire fucking movie all goes down. Two characters for one. I think Spider and Corporal Lyle, or Sergeant Lyle. Now, Sergeant Lyle is Quaritch's guy, the bald guy.
Did he survive? Like, where did he go at the end?
I don't know. I'm sure he did. I am sure he did.
I think he's going to stay loyal to the RDA, though, because I don't think he liked Quaritch being with the fire people.
Well, he liked Quaritch, but there's that line of, man, you're going to get me killed again, because he understands, and that's going to come up to play later on, right? Let me see. I'm just going to go with this Avatar. Did Lyle survive Avatar 3? Okay, Lyle appears to have survived The Way of Water. Okay. We don't know what happened. So we don't know what happened. And then also, and Garvin. Yeah, we don't know what happened to Garvin either. So we're going to hopefully find out because honestly, I liked Lyle. I thought he had more to do this time around that gave him some personality rather than just being the grunt that we saw in the other two films. And then, but I will say though, when Quaritch goes into the Ash people and to their lair, right? And he's like walking on in, and he's got like no shirt on. He's got the bag of guns, and there's that one dude being a dick, and he just goes, "I got my eye on you." I'm like, that's kind of a weird thing to say, right? Like he's just gonna kill that dude. Okay, and then he just points that one, and then Lyle just takes him out. I was like,
Drop
oh
him.
shit, dude, that whole fucking scene of Quaritch and Varang, that's 10 minutes. Did you know
And
that?
Varang, yeah, and Varang never had seen a sniper before, and somehow she spotted Lyle, which I
Yeah,
noticed that was pretty
yeah,
cool.
that was like she spotted him. And that makes you really wonder, like, how much power does she truly have? You know, and just like the whole thing of like the how like the but her story is so interesting too. We don't get a lot of it, but we get a little bit in the sense that like the volcano erupted and destroyed their home tree. So everyone is like in a panic, is in disarray. And then she comes out and she basically leads them, but like they imply cannibalism. Did you catch that?
Yeah, I caught that a bit. Like,
They imply, yeah, they implied can. Also, did you notice that that her tent is basically a vagina?
I did not notice that.
Go back and watch it again. When her tent, she has the two tusks on the side and it's got like teeth around it. It looks like a fucking vagina.
I
Dude.
know that
Like,
the Ash tribe was originally, from what Cameron said, they were a forest tribe, like the Tiris.
yeah, yeah, they are. And then those are the ones, but again, like the volcano erupted, destroyed everything, and I think that's one of the interesting aspects of the Na'vi is the Na'vi feel tied to whatever ecosystem that they're in, right? Like they can't ever leave. And there's a line in the beginning of Fire and Ash where Natiri and Jake are having their first kind of argument about what happened with Nateum. And she goes like, I don't have my people. I don't have my forest. I don't have my father's bow. I don't have anything except my faith. And I thought that was an interesting line because it shows you like her connection to her people is how deep that runs. And I think that is really one of the things that tied into the juxtaposition with Varane, because Varane is now the antithesis to Natiri, right? If you figure Quaritch and Sully are yin and yang, right? Varang and Natiri are now yin and yang.
Yeah.
And they really set that up too, because like when she was in the fucking base and Varang has the Uzi, she's just on the Ekron. She's just hauling ass, just firing the Uzi. I thought that was great. I was like, holy shit, dude, crazy bitch is crazy. And just like all of that. And here's the thing with that scene is like, I didn't know if Natiri was going to actually like survive that scene. Like, I mean, I knew she would get probably through it, but I was like, she could actually get injured here. Like, and that's because of how crazy this lady is. It would make sense if like one bullet hit her, and I think she gets shot later on too, doesn't she? She gets wounded later on. But anyway, okay, so yeah, Varang is awesome.
Now, do you think Varang will get like some kind of redemption later, or is she just gonna get straight off killed?
Oh, she's gonna get straight murked, dude. There's no bringing that back, right? And that's kind of I think that's kind of the idea there of what happened to them is like they're so far gone, they're so feral that there is literally nothing. Like, okay, remember in the beginning when they're attacking the wind people, like the caravan, and the one dude like fucking covers himself in petroleum, and then she shoots and then he becomes
kamikaze.
He kamikazes into the goddamn thing. That is how there's no coming back from that.
There was literally someone in my theater that yelled out, "Is he Japanese?"
Yeah, I think he's turning Japanese. I really think so. Dun dun dun. And it's no, but I mean, but again, that's what I'm saying. Is like there's no coming back from that. If your people are so far gone, that they're willing to light themselves on fire and everything else in order to like, have honor before death. Like, look at the kamikaze pilots in from Japan in World War II. It's like a lot of them just did it because they felt that was what was required from the emperor. That was honor, And then at the end of the wars, you're like, oh fuck, maybe not, right? That was maybe a dumb idea.
Yeah, like but look at Godzilla -1, like how they were like, oh, you kill yourself.
Godzilla, yeah, and that was considered dishonorable that he lived. Yeah. It was all like, I chose to live. You're kind of a bitch, and everything. And
now I don't.
But again,
if you've seen the movie Last of the Mohicans, but the Ash people kind of reminded me of the Mohawk natives in that movie.
Yeah, I've never seen that movie, but like we've seen things like that before. Like again, I would make the argument that with Avatar, as much as I love it and as much as I will defend it, it is not the most original in regards to the stuff that it's doing.
But what is
But it,
original?
well, yeah, everything's derivative. It's one of the reasons why I laugh at the anti AI people. I'm just all like, you're everything you've learned is derivative of something else. Everything you've created is derivative of something else. You know, if you say it's like this but that, it's like that is derivative something there that you've taken. Anyway, I don't think it really matters overall, but it's just I enjoy what they've done with it. But anyway, okay, hold on. Here's the scene I want to talk about. The post scene with Spider, because that fucking wrecked me, dude. The scene with Spider and Jake and Natiri after the rescue, when Jake all of a sudden is like, "We should kill him. We need to kill Spider. It's the only way to save the people." You know,
I knew he
and
wasn't
it's
going to
like,
kill him because of obviously the trailers kind of showed the end battle a bit, so I knew that. But I thought
well,
Naturi was
yeah.
actually going to stop it though. I thought she was going to come
Well,
in like.
but here's the question though. When he said, what got me though in that scene was Spider understood. Did you catch that at all?
Yeah, he was fine with
Like
like basically dying at that point.
he's like if it saves everyone, okay, you know. And then Jake is, but then he goes like, but then he just asked that question. He's like, but I just want to know, like, will you like, do you still love me? And like that fucking line, dude. And then like Jake is just like, of course I do, son. Like just that whole fucking display was just like so sad, you know? Because you can realistically understand the mindset of the characters in that scene. But then Jake says, "Awa, guide my hand," right?
Yeah,
And then Awa doesn't, and then his hand doesn't do it. Now, is that Awa? Is that him? Does he have faith? Is it just subconscious? He can't lose another son, sort of thing. Look, it's going to be up for interpretation, all things considered. But what I loved was the other side of that scene when it cuts back to Natiri and she's got all the ash people red paint on her and she's washing it off and you see the red in the water, right? And you see like the red on her hands and it's the blood, right? Again, it's not the deepest thing in the world, very easily pinpointable on a symbolic level, but you've got all of that. And then that realization like that sets in like, oh my God, what am I doing? What did I do? And that is just, again, it's all the grief and her hatred, and it bubbled over so much. And again, that's a very like understandable thing for her character because of losing her son and uprooting her life and everything else. And she's like, she won't fight back against Jake and what he decides because of the patriarchy system involving the Na'vi and everything. And then even though Jake, I think, wants her to do that, because he's like just trying, and he's like, if I'm making bad calls, tell me, sort of thing. Like I can only think what I'm doing is right because this is what I know. And really indicating the idea there that the marriage is truly a partnership, I think is really what they're trying to say there. It's because she says at the beginning of the movie, she says twice in the movie, "I will not speak against my husband publicly." And that is the idea there of because even in Way of Water when her and Ronal were kind of talking shit to each other. And like Jake's like, "Oh, I want to apologize for my wife. She's tired." And she's like, "Jake, do not apologize for me." And everything. Because I think with them in their relationship, there's meant to be an equalness to it. But then outside of that, people don't recognize. Anyway, there's a whole lot there, just I guess you could say, with their dynamic. But what I love though is that she runs back in there, right? And Jake is hugging Spider. And she comes over and she just looks at him and she just like she finally sees him and she just goes, "I see you." Dude, I fucking teared up, man. I teared up so goddamn hard watching that bit.
I was glad that she finally like I guess forgave Spider even though he didn't do anything wrong.
I mean, she'd never liked Spider ever, and like all fucking 15 years he's been around, she's never liked him. She tolerated him because, like, remember in the beginning of Way of Water, what do they call him? They called him a pet. He's like a pet. He's always around.
They call Jake. I remember calling him like a stray cat.
Yeah, like a stray cat. Yeah, right. So like this, so that's all. Like a stray cat can be part of your family, but it's always going to be on the outside.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, that's basically the line that they say that can, and so that's how they viewed him. But then, of course, Natayam Loak, right, Kiri Took, he's their brother. I mean, they call him Cuz, but he's their brother.
Well, I don't think Sakiri, that's her brother.
Hey, listen, we don't know how shallow how fucking that home tree, how shallow it gets towards the top is all I'm saying. All right. But I just love that though. But when Natiri sees him and she accepts him and everything, because and I just really love that fucking scene. Because if you think about it, like I said before, is like she goes to the base to rescue Jake and she gets there and Spider's already doing it. And Spider's putting himself in the crossfire, or in the crosshairs of the RDA, thinking he can use that as a way to get Jake out of there, and then it's like, and then she finally just kind of has that moment. And I thought it was really fucking good. And so I thought that I just love that scene, because it was truly kind of bringing him into the fold there. Now, what did you think though of Awa giving him the ability to breathe?
I didn't mind that. Like, I don't know. Like, what do you call it? Because I know Kiri was starting to do it, but then what she had a seizure, right? Was it?
Well, no. She was Oh yeah. The first time around, I think. No, she connected to the home tree, but then she was able to do it. She didn't know how she was able to do it. But then you had but okay, fuck, dude, I forgot about this. So that scene with him when he gets the ability to breathe, Awa was trying to do that to Grace Augustine in Avatar 1.
Oh yeah, I guess that would be
right. She was because in the whole thing of them trying to get Awa to put the consciousness of Grace into her avatar and it didn't work. Why didn't it work? Because Grace had the mask on. And the mycelium from the roots was not able to enter into her body and get into her lungs and to provide whatever Awa could provide. So maybe that's what it was. Maybe Grace wasn't able to get her full consciousness out of her body, which is why it stuck with Awa.
Yeah.
Now, I do think that Grace is going to get her I think Kiri is going to be able to put Grace's consciousness back in that body because they wouldn't keep it alive. They wouldn't keep it alive otherwise. There'd be no reason to keep it alive.
What about if Kiri just kind of I guess, inherits Grace's memories?
Well, I mean, Grace's memories, Grace's spirit is with Awa. So there's a lot there that they haven't fully explored yet. But I do think...
And Kiri is basically a clone.
Well, I don't, the clone thing, I think is, again, kind of a bit of a redundant way of looking at it, right? She's like, oh, great, I'm a clone. I think they said that for one as a bit of a joke, and then two, because that sounds like a very Kiri thing to say, but then also the idea there of trying to push it into the way that the audience can understand, very similar to the money that we talked about already, like the audience are going to be like, whoa, wait, hold on, what exactly would she be, right? Like she's not really she's Na'vi, but she's born out of this, right? I'm a clone doesn't really make a lot of sense. Her being a clone is the same way that Rey is Palpatine's granddaughter in fucking way in The Rise of Skywalker. When if you really think about it, if Palpatine's clone ended up getting a chick pregnant and that's where Rey came from, then technically that's his daughter, not his granddaughter. But people say granddaughter because it's just kind of easier to say than daughter. So I think that's the reason why they do it here. I blame the international audience. The reason why I blame.
So you think with Spider getting his tail and shit, you think eventually they're gonna make him a fucking a Na'vi?
No. They're not. That's how they're going to integrate the humans into the society. That's how they're going to have humans be able to live in harmony with the Na'vi. Now, here's the thing with that. You're going to get a lot of people on Twitter and social media that are going to be very upset with Cameron coming out being pro colonization, right? Because if you think about it for a second, if you've got the Na'vi and the humans living symbiotically in more ways than one on the planet, it's almost like there is a two-state solution, which would probably not go over well with a lot of people on the internet for a number of reasons. Not going to get into politics right now, especially over there in the, West Bank, Gaza Strip area. But I mean, there's some similar. You can figure out some of that yourself, I think.
But also, is James Cameron pro Colombo Day?
I don't know. I have no idea if he's pro Colombo Day or not. We'd have to find that out. I don't know. We're living in the age where Columbus Day is coming back, I guess. So there you go on that one. I don't know. I feel like we're going to get a lot more story with this next movie. I think they're going to really kind of move it along. But, do you think that Cameron is not going to do 4 and 5? Because I think that's all just bullshit.
I think he will do 4 and 5.
Yeah, I think this. Well, I think that's also why he wants to create something with AI. I think he's already doing it.
But I am glad that he did say that if we don't get it, he will do like a press conference or something. Because I do want to know, like, I don't want it to end up being like a Zack Snyder situation where we never find out.
Well, I think we get comics or books or some shit like that. Like I think they would actively give us the ending of it, but I think that could also be a double-edged sword. Because imagine if they put out like the endings of everything in like book form or comic form, and then they go and they gross a shit ton of money. They're going to be like, we could have just made this a fucking movie, right?
And like you said about with AI, I was talking to Elmo about that, because I said I think that he's going to use the AI to probably bring down costs for the next film.
Well, he's openly talked about that. He's openly talked about the idea of wanting to bring in AI to streamline the process and to create, it's to do everything better, basically. And so I think that's going to be the best course of action for him, is going to be that. And because I also feel like they're further along in the process of Avatar 4 and 5 than they want to let on. Like you wouldn't agree to do those movies and already have a good chunk of number 4 filmed if you weren't actively working on filming, 5 and 6, or not 5, 6, sorry, for the rest of 4 and 5. Because have you seen how they do that? Where it's like they shoot all like in a fucking soundstage?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Right. And so it's like if they go to Earth, then there's going to be there's going to be the human side of it. And that will have a lot of the physical, the stages and everything. But it's, I have a feeling they'll be able to do that in a way that's going to be cost effective. And I, and again, the technology has gotten cheaper. Look, man, did you see that they said that the budget for Fire and Ash was $400 million? I don't believe that's accurate, because they shot Fire and Ash. I would say that the budget for Way of Water and Fire and Ash combined were fucking $400 million. That I would believe, but I don't.
Budget.
It's a combined budget. Yeah, it's like it's kind of like Peter Jackson shooting Lord of the Rings, and I forget what the budget for like the first Fellowship was, but the Two Towers was like, I think, under $100 million budget, because they had already set up everything and already had everything ready to go. So I think it's combined budgets, and I think they're going to do the same thing for Avatar 4 and 5. And then also that budget is going to go in then what they've already spent to work on Avatar 4. So if they've shot the first act out of a 3-act movie, so the first third of the film, that $400 million then would tie into the budgets of that as well. I mean, go back and look at Superman Returns from 2006. The budget for that was so high because they added in the development of every other previous Superman movie, like beforehand, that they tried to do with
Cavill's movie in there too.
Cavill's original film was in there, because Cavill was tied to Superman Flyby.
Yeah, I've seen the test footage picture.
Yeah, and so he was set to do Superman Flyby long before they did Superman Returns. So, yeah. So the way Hollywood works is that's how it factors in part of the budget. So I'm not worried. So when I hear all this, these people on fucking Twitter, whatever, talking about this shit, and they're just like, "Hey, I can't show you. It's so fucking expensive." I mean, the movies have made a ton of money. The home video sales have been fucking insane. Disney's planning on opening another Pandora park in Disneyland. Like they have the one in Disney World, they're gonna open one up in a land in Disneyland as well. So if they didn't think that there was money to be made off of Pandora, they're going to do it. Now, that might be when we see a marketing push, or I should say a merchandising push. But, I don't know.
Also, when it comes to like the AI part for Cameron, at least he doesn't have to, I guess, worry about like all the Twitter people, like other directors, I guess would have to.
He doesn't give a shit.
Because
Yeah,
he's
he doesn't
Cameron.
care. Like, I'm legitimately probably going to send him an email, not an email. I'm going to send him a physical letter that it explains how to connect Cyberdyne to RDA to Avatar. With
Now,
that,
what do you think
with
about this idea? What if Avatar connected to Alita?
that would never happen because they're two completely different it's the rights issues on that. It's kind of
Oh,
like Rational earlier had mentioned that like when it comes to Terminator, Skydance does have some of those rights to some of the earlier films. So because the rights for those movies have kind of gone around, the movies themselves have different rights holders because of the different companies that produce them, right? But because it was like I forget who did the last Terminator movie, but it was I don't think it was
it's
Warner Brothers.
Paramount, I think, right?
Yeah, Paramount. All right, Paramount did Dark Fate, and Paramount did Genesis, and Paramount did Salvation. But Warner Brothers did Terminator 3: Rise of the Machines.
Yeah, like
And Fox did Terminator 2.
yeah, like with rights and stuff, like I know about that, like with fucking like Hammer films, like those films have fucking rights that are completely jumbled and fucked.
That's one of the reasons why the rights in Hollywood are very difficult overall. I think.
It's better for like overseas, I guess you'd say for films because what do you call it? Usually when you could distribute something like overseas, the rights kind of like I guess go to one company in a way. I don't know why that is though.
I don't know either. I don't know either. It's a lot of that though. I don't think the rights to that just kind of go to whoever buys them for that particular region. So, like, to just give you an example, Kevin Smith normally has smaller budgets for his movies. I think on about 4 million on average, and I know he did this with Red State and a couple of his other films from like 15 years ago. But what he did is he pre-sold the foreign distribution rights first in order to raise the capital to make the movie. And then I know that when he did Jay and Silent Bob reboot, that was with Lionsgate, and Lionsgate that was also again super cheap. I think it was like about $4 or $5 million. And then Lionsgate was like, "Hey man, the home video sales for this were so good. What else you got?" And then he's like, "I got Clerks 3," and they're like, "Fucking do it." And so it was like he knows how to sell to his audience to make it profitable enough to keep doing more. And so ultimately, I think the same thing here. Cameron knows that like people are interested in these. People are going to go see these, and I do think a lot of the success of Avatar has a lot to do with the concept of family.
So
I yeah, I really think so.
now when you were talking about earlier about or when we were talking about James Cameron with AI, so he
Hold
developed
on. Sorry, dude. Rational. No, Warner Brothers put out Terminator Part 3: Rise of the Machines. Maybe Columbia did Salvation, but Terminator Part 3 was definitely distributed by fucking um by Warner Brothers. I know because we had it at my theater. Also, it is now currently 12 a.m. Welcome to 2026. Talking about one of the greatest films of 2025, I think, in this last little bit. So, um,
So what I was saying about like Cameron was that so he developed all the technology for the CGI and stuff for the first two movies, and so like I wonder if he's going to use it like an existing AI, like if he decides to put AI into this, or if he's going to create his own complete from the ground up.
he is working with. He's on the board of directors for Stability AI. So that is, so like that's kind of part of it, right? Is like I think he's already developing it. I think he's already working with Stability AI, because Stability AI you can run locally on your machines, right? You can choose the training data for that stuff. The problem though is that it requires a lot of training data. And I think to an extent a big thing happening right now within the VFX community in Hollywood and these studios with the inclusion of AI is like they are trying to find a way to get all of the studios involved in like it, so then like everyone can basically iterate without there being a worry about having copyright. Like everyone taps into it, like they all kind of agree to it. And I think that's kind of what they're going to go for. It's like the only way to save copyright is to combine it, if that makes any sense.
Will Del Toro use it?
You know what? I don't know. I don't know if Del Toro is going to use it. I don't know. I don't care, dude.
Walk AI.
He was crashing out so hard over that anyway.
I don't see like the reason like why to crash out. Like I understand, like I guess the ethical stuff with it, but like I was telling what do you call it, Elmo's wife about this, because like me and her were talking a long time about AI, and I said like I don't understand like the whole hate to it. Like when I make stupid videos with it, like I don't see what's the problem with that. Like I didn't want to go out and hire somebody to do this fucking video and pay thousands of dollars when I can just do it in 20 seconds. Does that make
Well,
you
I
evil
think,
to me?
yeah, I think in some ways you've got people that are trying to make the argument that it's like, well, this is going to put artists out of work. And I'm like, I don't, a lot of these companies are going to like still have artists.
But didn't people say that about CGI?
There were some talks about that with CGI, but for the most part, what,
And then I know people said stuff about like Photoshop ruining artists.
there, every iteration of technological advancement in this field has been met with people that are naysayers. I think the key factor right now is there's always been some kind of varying skill set that's needed between these authors to, I don't know, wow, fuck Jesus Christ. I don't know if anyone heard the explosion. My neighbors, I live in the woods. People have been lighting out fireworks for a while. But there's now, I don't want to say there's no skill needed. All right. But the skill, the level of the barrier for entry has been dramatically reduced, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. And I think that
So,
I do think that also kind of worries people as well. Like people, like I've seen like Vince Gilligan and stuff crashing out over it.
but a lot of those guys, think of it like this. And one of their key reasons why they crash out like this is because these are the people who spent their whole lives, their whole careers getting to the positions where they are in, right? And those people are what you would argue are like the tastemakers. Okay, like Guillermo is a tastemaker. Okay, yet almost every movie that he's attached his name to that he produced has not been the greatest thing ever. Go look at fucking Splice. Okay, that was one of the first ones that he attached his name to as a producer, and it came out in 2010, I think, and it was a weird fucking movie. Basically like Adrian Brody like fucks up like a hybrid, like a chimera. It's weird. And then there was other movies that Guillermo put his name on. Look at like Mike Flanagan putting his name on Shelby Oaks. Like that movie kind of came and went, and Mike Flanagan's name didn't really help move the needle at all. But Mike Flanagan is a person who built his career up, and was able to kind of, use that as a way to open some doors. And
Or
that's
like how
kind of,
J.J. Abrams does that stuff too.
well, yeah, but you can go find an interview with J.J. Abrams and like Kevin Smith and Stan Lee and I think Jason Lee and a few other people. They're having this roundtable. This is from a number of years back, and J.J. is like, well, mine, when your name's on everything, right? Even though all you're doing is just kind of like overseeing it, you're not involved in the day to day. Like he's talking about like Lost and everything else. So like you get all the praise if it's good, but if it's not great, you get all the hatred, even though you had nothing to do with it. Right. So it's kind of a double-edged sword on that front. And that's a big part of the problem of using name recognition. So to give you another example, going back to Comic-Con 2009, this is a deep cut, but Tim Burton, they finally got Tim Burton to come to Comic-Con. and he was there and he was promoting. Did you ever see the animated movie Nine with Elijah Wood?
I've heard of it. I know that Tim Burton wasn't really involved. His name was kind
He
of
was only a producer. Yeah, right. And so in Hall H, he is there taking questions. Someone comes up and says, "Hey, Mr. Burton, just curious, what was it like to make this movie?" And he goes, "I was just a producer. All I did was make some phone calls. That's it." Right? That's all. That's it. He attached his name to the project, helped open some doors, got paid a producer's fee, and his name's all over the marketing. So then they can use that as a way to get people to go, "Oh, Tim Burton's involved in this. It's got to be good." And that's part of the marketing of Hollywood, part of why they do this kind of stuff. And so it really shows you just how much everything has been, like where the industry is. And so all of these guys that have built their names up have gotten to this place of hard work. Make no mistake, it's very hard work. And they've gotten to this place in their career where they're kind of on top of where they're going to be. And now they see that, like, because you go back 30, 35 years, and you got like Tarantino's and the Kevin Smiths and the Richard Linklaters and the Robert Rodriguez's and all those guys, even the Wes Andersons of the 90s, like the indie auteurs of the 90s, and they all came out with their movies, and that was like the revolutionary time for indie films. It was 30 years ago. And now we're kind of seeing that swing again because movies are kind of cheaper to make than ever if you know how to use the equipment. And so it's like you can make movies now on digital that look great. You can shoot them great, light them great, make them sound great. You can learn After Effects, and soon AI will be able to come on in and really kind of punch up these projects that you shoot in your backyard over a weekend. And so what I view this as being like more of a democratization of the accessibility aspect of Hollywood. The gatekeepers are the ones that are worried. And they're worried because if they start losing their power, this is where there's a very real fear amongst the underlings, right? It's called the under the line people. What that means is in your opening credits of a movie, right? You have like your director, your producers, your screenwriter, your actors, right? Your sound designer, maybe your editor, right? Those people, those are all the above the line people. Those are the people whose names you actually pay attention to. Everyone else that's in the end credits, they're called the below the line people. And those are your day-to-day, players, your day, your crews and everything else, right? Those guys are worried because they're worried that they're going to be out of a job because AI or technology is going to eventually put them out of a job. In some ways, it was always going to happen like that anyway, right? Like budgets have gotten to be too bloated for these movies. Why is that? Because actors want more money up front these days. And never mind, like just, how much it costs to do everything. And then, fewer and fewer movies are going to theaters, and more movies that go to theaters aren't performing as well. So only a few big tentpole movies every year are making the money. Everyone else is just kind of there, right? And that's kind of how it's always worked, though. A few big movies will then subsidize the smaller ones, especially for that studio. And that's why the home video market is very important. But now the home video market is something that's pretty much relegated to streaming. And that's, in my mind, that's a harder thing to figure out what to do with. How to justify the profit off of that. But that's a whole other fucking topic.
Now, when it comes to, like, as you said, like the below the line people, so if they started replacing that with like AI and stuff, we kind of go back to like just like, I don't know if you've ever seen like many movies from the 30s, 40s, and 50s, but their credits ain't long. They're like really fucking short.
Well, yeah, they used to run them in front of the movie.
Yeah.
They used to do that, and then and then they started running them after the movie. I forget why that shift happened, but
I think it was SAG.
Oh, yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. But really, it's just the way that the technology is going. Things are shifting once again, and yeah, things have gotten to be more
Like,
available.
another thing with AI is it allows someone like you've been writing your stories. Like, I don't know how much time you would have had if you didn't have AI to help with it.
It helps.
But
I mean, yeah, it does help.
It lets you do it, and maybe like someone like Del Toro or Gilligan would see you coming to Hollywood and be like, "Oh, well, fuck you. You just do."
Oh,
Stuff.
I would. Oh, yeah, no, I'd absolutely get a fuck you off of that. Yeah, yeah. But I took 3 of the stories that I had already done in third person, and last night I converted the 3 of them into first person past tense, which is easier for narration. I also expanded on the stories too. I did 3 in about 4 hours. I did that with 3 about 3,000 word short stories each. And
I,
look, I don't care. I don't give a shit. I don't fucking care anymore. This is where I'm at with it, right? Is like, look, I want good stories. I don't really care how we get them. All right? Like I'm tired of the fucking too many cooks in the kitchen process that we get from these big movies. You know, all these producers that come on in, they all get their cuts up front, and then they go and they meddle and they meddle and they meddle and they meddle, and then the product is substandard.
DCEU.
Well, that's a big one, but the product is substandard not because of the fault of the people who broke their backs making the damn thing. They had a vision, right? You don't go into shooting something and not have a vision. Even when we talk about, like, let's say Avengers Doomsday, and you'll hear someone like, one of the actors go like, well, I have no idea what the movie's even about. I just went in there, shot some scenes on a green screen. I was by myself for like 5 days, and I don't even know what was going on in the movie. It's like, do you really believe any of that?
Fuck no.
Like, you're acting, you're gonna know what the topics are. The scenes you're talking about. You're in. They're gonna have context. Everything is escalation, moving it from point A to point B to point C. Right? The way these things are written are like that. Yes, do they have like things that they do to try to protect from leaks, and they'll shoot alternative scenes and things like that? Yeah, they do a lot of that, but the people behind it still have a vision. Not everybody who's going to come on in and be a part of that vision is going to know the overall aspect of it. So it's like, that's the thing that bothers me. Cameron has a vision. He has a singular vision for these films that he has executed to the tune of over $6 billion worldwide, right? Or no, over $5.6 billion worldwide. All right. In just 16 years amongst 3 films. Literally, like, it took Marvel 5 years, 6 years, 5 years to start cranking out. Well, I mean, their first $1 billion movie was Avengers in 2012, and then followed that up with Iron Man 3, which was $1 billion in 2013, right? But Thor, that came out in the fall of 2013. That Thor: Dark World, that did not do $1 billion. You know,
Yeah,
like it.
and I don't think that the MCU Feige had plans for, like, from the beginning of Iron Man. I do not think he had the plan for Endgame then.
No,
Like,
no, no, no. That was
like
something.
like Cameron, I think, has had his plan for Avatar since the first one. But I think he's been working on Avatar since what, the 70s or 90s?
I think he first announced it following Titanic in 1999. Is when I first heard about it. That
So
was
yeah,
his next thing, was Titanic back then. And I feel like that's kind of the factor with it, is just like, he is, he knows what he wants, and he's proven it to be successful, and he's made a shit ton of money off of it. He's made a shit ton of money for Fox. That was part of the reason why Disney bought them. It wasn't just fucking X-Men. That was a big one. All right. But it was like, Avatar was a big one as well. And then the first movie they put out together goes on to be the 3rd highest grossing film of all time, right underneath another Marvel movie that Disney acquired, through their acquisitions and shit. But Disney has the pocketbooks to put up the dough for these movies. And they can do that, and they're going to continue doing that. It's like, even look at like someone like Tron Ares. That's a massively big budgeted movie. It didn't do as well as they wanted it to, but why would Disney put out the money to do it? Because Disney wants to make money, or wants to, promote the theme parks, because the theme parks are like the biggest part of their fucking business. And Tron has the light cycle. I forget where it's at, but it's, somewhere. Anyway, I do need to. We've been talking for an hour and a half. I wouldn't mind. Do you want to? We can move over to like another stream and keep talking about other shit.
Yeah, that's fine.
I got to just use the restroom real bad. So I guess final words. We've talked a lot about different aspects of Avatar: Fire and Ash. Is there anything that you have wanted to discuss very quickly?
Overall, great film. I think it's better than the first and Way of Water. I can't wait to watch it again at home, like being in a comfortable position instead of sitting in a shitty chair. But yeah, like, I think it's a great film, and I cannot wait for part 4, whatever the fuck that is.
2029 is what they're saying.
And then also, I need my question answered. Will Spider eat a burger?
I hope Spider will eat a burger, and then I hope it's a Demolition Man reference by saying like, "Oh, it's rat." I just want that to happen. You know, and hold on here. They should bring back Captain Trudy. Oh yeah. Michelle Rodriguez character because she had a relationship with Dr. Norm Soman. That is true. They did in the original screenplay. There's actually a guy on YouTube that I was watching break down a bunch of Avatar lore, and he went through a bunch of that. It was pretty good. So, look, my final thoughts on there's more to say. I think we've had a very in-depth conversation about a lot of the movie. And I hope that if you've gotten this far in the discussion, that you've come away a bit more entertained, a bit more informed, maybe have a bit deeper love and understanding and respect for Avatar. These films have a lot going on. There's a lot to build off of, a lot to love, and there is absolutely more to the story, and we're going to get it. And I really do hope we get the Quaritch Sully kind of bromance thing going on. I don't know why. I feel like I really want that. Because it's going to be like My Two Dads. That's what it's going to be. That's what it's going to do, right? This is going to be My Two Dads. That's what it's going to be. So, and as always, I do want to discuss more movies as we go into 2026, because it's now officially 2026. I love these long form kind of just talking about them because it's just more fun. And so thank you guys very much. Thank you, H-Bars, for being here. And be sure to check out the other stream over on the other channel here in a second. I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you, and peace out.